All right, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the September 2021 edition of the virtual chapter. Gosh, the year is just going by, and I am here, Michael Watson here, your host, with my good friend and co-host, of course, Karen Hand. Say hello, Karen.
Hello, hello. Good to see you tonight.
It's good to see you tonight. I've just come off of a really long weekend. So I've got to tell you, we had the Galaxy of the Stars, IMDHA's Galaxy of the Stars. There were 86 people, I believe, in attendance, which was a really delightful response. We were thrilled. We went a little bit off the beaten track that this particular time around. The topic was the spirit of hypnosis. And so we had Paul Rand and Sophia Kramer talk about past life regression and live between lives and near-death experiences. Roy Hunter talked about spiritual hypnosis, a topic some of you have heard him talk about before. And then I did a segment on dreams and fantasies and journeys. And that was just really some exciting stuff. So it was a great experience. It was an exhausting process as well, as those weekends can sometimes be. But if you were there, great. Just know that the recording has been submitted. It's being burned onto flash drives and all that. Those things will be out to you. In fact, we've been told by the end of the month. So just a couple of weeks. And if you weren't there and you're interested, you have to do this through IACT, of course, through the association. But check in with them, and you can purchase a flash drive, which is 2 days worth of video and audio, and all the handouts are included and all that stuff as well from the program. So there's it's interesting. I just realized I've just done a promotional piece after the fact.
You have, but that's the rule of promotion. Tell them what you're going to do, tell them what you're doing, and then tell them what you did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just did that. You did a great job.
That was Gloria Swanson, she was a commercial after the fact.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, well anyway, it's great to be here tonight, and we've got some announcements. What's coming up? Karen Hand, you've got some Chicago stuff to talk to us about all that.
I do have some Chicago stuff coming up. We have the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference coming up October 15th, 16th, and 17th. It is on Zoom. The whole thing is live and in person, nothing pre-recorded, live and interactive on Zoom, 3 full days. We have some world-class speakers. Since we're on Zoom, we still have our European speakers with us. And we have a lot of people from all over the country talking about a lot of things. Plus, we have a fun room, which is just a 4th room that has some off-the-wall stuff in it, like art therapy or dream analysis with someone you may have heard of, Michael Watson. He'll be analyzing dreams and cool things like that go on in the fun room. It's a good time, and we're going to have Tracy Gray as our entertainment Saturday night. If you don't know Tracy Gray, you got to find out about Tracy Gray. She's a hypnotist, mentalist, magician, and this is a hard thing to do. At HypnoThoughts, she had a workshop that was standing room only and locked out. I got there about a minute late, couldn't get in. Melissa Tears couldn't get in. Tracy Gray is phenomenal, and she'll not only be teaching a class and a post-conference one-day workshop, but she'll be the entertainment Saturday night. And if all you wanted to do was see Tracy Gray, you could actually buy tickets just to her Saturday night presentation. So at any rate, that's Mid-America, October 15th, 16th, and 17th. I start a certification training. If you know any new hypnotists who would like to be certified, I start a certification training on October 9th. That will be done mostly on Zoom, and the Mid-America Conference is included in that training. So they get the conference there, and they get another conference along the way. And we do a lot of online training about very deep hypnotic subjects. So this is a certification program, but if you know hypnotists who want to advance their skills, I also make deals with hypnotists who want to join in some of the training to upgrade their skills. So that's available as well. That's what's coming up in Chicago for now.
Okay, cool. And coming up in Florida, here we are in Florida, well, of course, it's weird because it's so long from now before May. And we're already starting to get geared up for the IMDHA conference, down here. So start making your plans, because it's going to be one of the best ever, I think. And what else? Well, the Hypnosis Education Association, for those of you who are familiar, a Florida-based organization. We have a meeting the second weekend in November here in Orlando. It's a small group and a lovely group of family and friends that have known each other for 20 some years. So we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. Some of you attended the last one. The last one we've been online for a year, so or for a year and a half. So we're really looking forward to getting back together. You've got these big associations that that we have, like IACT and IMDHA or the National Guild, or the what have you, Hypnosis League, and and those are great. When I first came to Florida, though, I was so thrilled to find just a community of people that were within an hour or two of each other, by car, so you could get together not only at the meetings but at other times, and and really build relationships with. So for those of you who are hypnotists, if you're out there all by yourself, it's really nice to find a community to hook up with, because there's a lot of support that comes from that. Because you know what? We're weird people, and most of the rest of the world doesn't have any idea what it's like to do what it is that we do. So so it's really good to hook up with a group like that one. So I can't really think of anything else that we need to announce. We're going to be talking to Greg Beckett shortly about working with the LGBTQ community. And before we do that, we have just a couple little features that we want to share with you. Karen Hand, I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but Karen Hand is a multiply published author. She has written volumes, and she's just come out with her new book.
Yes, and since you mentioned them both, what I'm so thrilled is both of these books were on the bestseller list in the top 5 for a week. It was just amazing. And I really have to thank you for your support on Trance Dance, the hypnotic art of leading and following, because it is still #1 new release in hypnosis. And thank you. I really appreciate your support. What I wanted to share with you guys tonight was a piece out of that book. And I talk about a lot of different things in the book and how to make it really easy for you to work with anybody who comes into your office on any issue by just focusing on your client and keeping the questions and the curiosity on them. But let's just do a little piece right now that you can really use immediately to augment. Even if you use scripts, you drop in personal trance words and your clients will have no resistance, because you're using their words, their ideas, their concepts. And it's so easy you don't have to make it up. It's easy to elicit those personal trance words right from your clients. So you'll know exactly how you can go right in past any kind of, critical faculty or factor or anything else that might be made up out there that you can't get past. You can get through that and get right in to their thinking patterns. So there are a couple of easy questions to elicit these personal trance words. There's a whole series of 7 questions, magical kind of questions, that you can ask to get your whole script laid out for you. But these you can ask anytime, any place, to break a state. If your client is going on and on and on, telling the same old story they've been telling forever, and you just want to stop that story and move their mind into a different direction, you can ask any of these questions too, and it will do that. It will break that state and move into a solution state. So I want to play with somebody. Mary, may I pick on you? Will you play with me? We'll do this quickly. And you don't have to reveal anything, okay? Outrageous. So Mary, I'm just going to ask you a couple of easy questions. When it comes to a job, any job at all, what makes that job really fulfilling for you?
Feeling that I did my best, and feeling that I made a difference, and feeling that there's some appreciation for what I'm doing.
Excellent. How do you know you've done a good job at something?
I typically have a feeling inside that that I gave what I had, that I did my best. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. In a friendship, What has to be in a friendship for it to really be valuable to you?
Trust, respect, some kind of shared values.
Ah, excellent.
Mhm.
Do you have a hobby?
What other hobby do I have besides hypnosis?
Well, hypnosis could
Let's
be
say
a
cooking.
Cooking?
Let's say it's more like eating, but let's say cooking.
Okay, cooking. And what makes that enjoyable for you?
Oh my
Let's
gosh.
do that.
So just the creation and just testing, how you can change something with a little bit of this or that, and having an idea and then actually putting it together and then experiencing all the sensory, all the senses after
Cool.
doing that.
What's the most relaxing place you can think of?
A really soft chair on the beach.
Oh, perfect. So, inquisition over. Those are some very simple questions that gave us some very valuable information about Mary. What did we get out of just those weird questions? And sometimes when I'm working with a client and they're going on and on with the story, I'll say, you know what? What's your favorite, most relaxing place? And they kind of look at me, oh, just go with me. I ask a lot of dumb questions sometimes, or a lot of weird questions. It doesn't matter what question you ask, okay? What we learned from Mary is she's very kinesthetic, right? We want to give her kinesthetic suggestions. She said several times, like, I feel it inside. Oh, I can just feel like I'm doing my best. So she gave us a lot of kinesthetic cues that will help us, help her make a transition. She used words like, I want to do my best. I want appreciation. I want trust, respect, shared values. And by the way, if you're making notes on your clients, don't make it on a stupid little pad like this where you can't read your own notes, because that'll make it hard on you. Make it bigger so that you can actually read it. Sorry about that, Mary. Her most relaxing place is a soft chair on the beach. We asked that question because we get a lot of valuable information from her. I may not take her through a mountain trek, right? I don't do a lot of guided visualization, but if I want to use some kind of metaphor along the way as we're working on something, boy, a relaxing chair on the beach, just imagine you're there in the beach in a soft, relaxing chair, and go on and on and on. However, you might want to use that as a metaphor, or you can use that as your guided visualization toward trance. She likes to have an idea and put it all together. Boy, how cool is that to go right into her script? And by the way, you had the idea to have more confidence, and you saw the way to get there by taking this step, and this step, and you know exactly how to put it all together and get to your idea. And we haven't said anything. We, the hypnotists, haven't really said anything except for what Mary gave us that are already her strategies for success, already the words that resonate with her. And let's pretend, I'm not saying that you're not confident at all, Mary, I'm just pretending that it's confidence, okay? And you can trust yourself because you've taken the steps to bring your idea to fruition. And imagine the respect you'll get as you just shine to yourself and to everyone you're talking to. It's a creation of your own making. And since you had the idea, you know now how to bring it to fruition. I'm just pattering, right? With her words going toward that goal that she talked about. And it was everything that she gave us just by asking a few questions. So that's the kind of thing that's in trance dance and the kind of way I work with my clients. They come in with their BS, their belief system. I ask them about their BS and I listen to what they have to say. And I ask them a few questions about what do you want? How are you going to get there? What stopped you from having it already? And what steps are you going to take to do it? That's the script. And they just gave it all to me. Sprinkle that with some of their their value words that you elicit, the personal trance words, and you've got a client in the palm of your hand. Not that we want them in our hands, but I'm just saying you've got a client that you are actually helping facilitate a change. Okay, so that's in Transstance if you want more about that. Or if you have any questions about that, you can always get in touch with me at Karen@KarenHand.com. Mary, how did that work for you as I was just talking about some of those things and saying them to you? How did that feel to you?
It felt really good.
Like I was talking right to you, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. Good. And that's exactly what it's all about. Thank you for playing with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, and everybody, I want you to notice something I think was really interesting about that is that in Transstance, by the way, Karen uses a lot of magic words. And in her book, Magic Words, there's a lot of trance dancing going on. I thought that was very interesting. So I wondered, and I thought we should ask you, Karen, is there a particular order in which one needs to read those books?
Actually, no. Well, if I had it to do all over again, I might have done Transstance first and then Magic Words. But because Magic Words is actually about the easy way to put together suggestions once you've gathered all the information. But you can read them in any order.
Right. All right. So I love that. And now we're gonna be talking to Greg in just a couple minutes. So hold your breath here, or don't hold your breath. That's the wrong word, isn't it? Because a couple of minutes is a long time to hold your breath. But I just have one other thing that I want to share. You know, I mentioned that I did this thing on the weekend at the Galaxy about dreams, and it really got me thinking. You know, about just kind of, well, you know, interesting stuff about the way that we work and the way that we communicate with ourselves. And those of you who know me have heard me talk about evolutionary hypnosis and this idea that I really think, you know, I'm a mystic at heart, right? And I really think that one of the most important or intriguing things to me, what that has brought me into hypnosis in the first place, is first and foremost a desire to get a peek behind the curtain. You know what I mean? It's like what's kind of in back of all of this? What's, you know, what makes it work? You know, if you could just go backstage and, you know, see who was pulling the strings, and, you know, that's of interest to me. I also noticed that it seems to be, it's not at one point, I think I was interested in getting a look at what was behind the curtain. Now what I'm interested in getting a look at is what it looks like from behind the curtain to look at what's going on out here. An interesting way to give ourselves a different perspective of, you know, of our experience in the world, from well, I guess a dissociated perspective on the one hand, but a sort of spiritually dissociated perspective, you know, with a different slant to it. So anyway, there's that. But in the dream workshop, the point is a lot of things were coming up from different people, and I swear to God, one of the fellows in the group started to share a dream that he had, and it was a dream that I have, you know, as well. And each time he added something more to the story, it was like, oh, me too. So I'm curious. I just want to tell you my dream, and it is a little different than his, but I just want to tell you my dream. And I'm really curious. I just want to check with hands at the end and find out how many of you have this same dream or a dream that is very similar to it. It's just a curious thing to me, and I appreciate your indulgence with this. So the dream is this: I have woken up very early in the morning, earlier than I would like to wake up, because it is the day of final exams. And I, you know, and I have this 8 a.m. class to attend, you know, to take a final, to take an exam in. The thing about this 8 a.m. class is I haven't attended it all semester. You know, I had the book. You know, I thought, you know, I'll read it. You know, I'll get there eventually. But it was an 8 a.m. class, for God's sake. So now it's final exam day. I have woken up. I'm getting myself ready to this class, having crammed as much coffee and data into my head through the night before, and I'm ready to go to class. But I don't know where the class is. And so I'm running around the campus. I'm going from one room to another room, trying to find my class. And, you know, and it just goes on, this continual, I've got to get to the test. By the way, yeah, I'm sure that there's some really good analytical material here. I've got to get to the test to which I am ill prepared, and I don't even know where the hell it's at, or or anything. So I'm wondering, can I ask you, do any of you have dreams that are similar to that? Yeah, well, Mary, at least Mary admits it.
Well, go ahead and share that, Mary.
Mine is similar. It's not so much as being lost, but mine is I'm dreaming that I am going to have a math test or a computer science test, the two classes that I struggled with, and that I say it's like similar, like I miss too many classes and too much content, and I can't finish it in time, and I'm not going to graduate. I think it's high school.
There's another element, Michael. Is that in yours? Not going to graduate or going to miss out, not going to pass?
Actually, I don't have any sort of foresight to the consequences of this at all, other than the immediate urgency of it. But it really is. And it's funny, I'm saying this like I dreamed this a lot. I haven't dreamt this dream for a long time, but I remember whenever I did, and gosh, the way that it finally woke me up, because it was just such a challenging thing. Huh. Okay, well, and the guy that told the dream in the class, I thought had another interesting variation too, is as he was going towards the class, or the building where the class was, the closer he got to it, the farther away the building moved. It was like moving away from him as he was trying to approach it. And I thought that was a good variation as well. Oh well, yeah, a curiosity anyway, and thanks for thanks for indulging me. By the way, I might mention that next month we are going to have as our featured guest Shelley Stockwell, and y'all know Shelley, and she's been on here before and done a variety of interesting things. But I'm really holding her down to one particular topic, and I hope it's something that will interest the rest of you. Shelley and I and a few of us have been around, on playing this hypnosis game for a number of years. And by the way, before we were therapists, we were involved in this thing that some of you may not even have heard of, called the human potential movement. It was before there was a new age. There was a human potential movement, and the new age now is rather passé, isn't it? So it's been this hell of an evolution, and when I tell my story, I get to talk about Ram Dass and Timothy Leary and and all of these folks. Well, Shelley Stockwell spent some time at Esalen when Stanislav Grof was teaching people holotropic breathing work and stuff. This was just shortly after Fritz Perls left Esalen. So if you don't know about Esalen was where all the experimental stuff and everything that we're doing these days sort of grew out of this incredible community in the Big Sur area of California. So we're going to talk a little bit about Esalen, but more particularly about her work with Stan Grof and about holotropic breath work and stuff associated with that. So I think it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's all there is to say about that, as Orman McGill would say. And I guess that means that it's time to move on to our next segment. So we have with us tonight Greg Beckett. And Greg, I am so glad that you have come to join us. I don't know you really well, but I've attended a lecture that you did at Hypnothoughts, and and really appreciated it. And that the LGBTQ community obviously is an important part of my life. Because I am a member. I have a card and everything, and and I know the words to most of the musicals and theater. So And I guess I was a little intrigued when I first saw you talk about it at Hypnothoughts. And I'm going to kind of just open up with this and maybe a question, but I want to hear how you got involved in really working in the way that you do and all of that. So we're going to let you tell us your story, if you will. But I'm also curious, being I've been so conscious of this lately. There seem to be kind of 3 generations of us on the planet as I divide the world, and I know that there's certainly different ways that maybe sociologists talk about it. But there's kind of the youngins that are just getting their feet wet and finding their way around. There's the folks that are in the middle of it all, and there are folks that are maybe in the last trimester, getting ready for the next birth or whatever it is. And And my sense of the gay community is that we have the gay and lesbian people, and gay, lesbian, and transsexual, and LGBTQ plus.
AI plus, yes.
Yeah, so we have very different sets of experiences, in the sense that when I was sort of discovering my sexuality, it was illegal for me to be who I was. I could go to jail for it. I could, the world was giving me a message really loudly that said, "Oh my God, I hope nobody ever finds out who you are." And at the same time, all I really wanted was for somebody to know who I was, and I think that's one of the disparities for a lot of people, is to be able to be out, to be free, to be open, in a world that says, well, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe you could lose your job, maybe, whatever. So there's that perspective, and I'm really curious, and I'm hoping you can give me some insight about this, that people in the youngest of those three sets that I mentioned are coming into the world in an age that is becoming more and more gender fluid, and more, the gender fluid was a word that we wouldn't have even considered talking about in the 70s, or even in the first half of the 80s, probably. So it's a very different world that people are coming out into. So I'm curious about all that. I'm curious about how it affects the issues that LGBTQ people bring into therapeutic environments, what the sort of special issues that they deal with are, and also, though, how much the same as everybody else they are as well. So I say they, I mean we, but right? So anyway, I haven't given you an introduction, Greg. I've just started rambling, but I'm just thrilled to death that you're here. And I'm going to let you tell your story and a little bit about what it is that you do and how you work, and then we can get into this further. Okay.
All right. I don't know how this is going to go. You've kind of set it up, but I'm sort of, hi, I'm Greg, and that's about it. I live in Los Angeles. I am a hypnotist. I've been doing hypnosis for about a little over 20 years. And I happen to be a gay man. I ended up, it was at HypnoThoughts, I think I did the first, it's more of a discussion about LGBTQAI plus and hypnosis. There hadn't been one. And so I did it, and I've been doing it every year in a few other places. I just happened to have the, I guess I just did it. And so now people look at me as that in some perspective, but I'm just a guy like someone that's straight and female happens to be just straight female that works with straight female, it just is what it is. And a lot of the interesting thing when people say, why do you do this talk? Or why do people that should be there aren't the ones that show up that need to learn more. And maybe it's true, but maybe we need to find out how much alike we are, that it's not a big deal in many ways. I look at LGBTQAI plus, and I'm still learning all the letters too. It's not always easiest because they add on and things, but really we're talking about everybody that is a little bit different than what the norm that society is saying that we have to be. And it's a culture, really. There's a lot of cultural things that as hypnotists or as doctors even, or anybody else are, or dealing with, that would want to understand some of the culture. And we have been a subculture for so long, and we don't want all our stuff known because it's not acceptable, allegedly, or whatever it is, just like in any, I happen to be Puerto Rican. There's stuff about me Puerto Rican that someone that's very Anglo wouldn't get if I were to bring up, but someone else that's Latino would be like, oh my gosh, I get it, Greg. I happen to have had a number of clients that I've worked with through the years that have transitioned from male to female and female to male. And it's been really interesting, and it's been very honorable, I guess is the word, or I don't know what special to me that I, with all my clients, am being allowed the privilege to hear who they really are, where they want to go, and they feel like maybe I can help them get there. As with anybody, we don't do the work for our clients. I say we just sort of shine a light in the forest and help them go down the right path that they need to go for themselves, that they already know. To have clients changing physically to match their emotion or what they've always known. I mean, if I were to say to you now, whether it's you, Michael, or Paul, or any of you here, you are no longer allowed to be what you think you are. It's completely wrong. And you're raised to not think who you are is okay. That's,
Yeah.
an incredible thing that we do grow up with, or we have. And I want to address really quick, Michael, you had asked about generational.
Mm-hmm.
And you pointed out in an email that I'm a senior. And I was like, what? Oh, I guess I am. Which is also a privilege in my community as a gay male, being a senior, because we lost so many people through HIV and AIDS and drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that has lost a whole army of adults, of seniors, to help the community, to help the kids and help the younger people. I mean, there's odd things, and I might bring them, we'll see. But what I want to say about the generational thing is there are still people that are going through what you and I went through, Michael. It depends on where you live.
Yeah.
In this country and in this world. So for us to think it's better for everyone, that's not true. So everybody's so individual, because I know some people my age that their parents are like, oh yeah, bring your boyfriend, just like your brother brought his girlfriend for breakfast. And that was back in the early 80s or mid 80s, where I was like, what? Your parents did that for you? As I wake up next to him and go, oh, your parents are like that. They're cool. I'd like to meet them, A lot of times, being a gay man, my friendships were developed by going out to the clubs with a few other friends, no apps or anything. We all remember that, which is great. And, there's all this testosterone and all this kind of stuff, and you pick up, you meet someone, you go to have a one-night stand or whatever, and that's who becomes your friend. And that was a big cultural thing, that's how you developed friendships. Mm-hmm. In a lot of, we were not taught how to date. No one told us, no, don't call them the next day, or yes, call them the next day, say thank you. No, that's not a good person. No, because we were all hidden from even our own families. Yeah. So we were let out when we get to move out on our own, or find some sneaky little place to go to. It was like a kid in a candy store. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you can say hi to people and everybody's the same, and you've never had that in your whole life. So there's no self-discipline, self-worth. That if they had a daughter or a son that were straight, I think you're calling that young lady a little bit too much because her father told me you're creeping her out. Or no, you don't, you make sure he brings you to the door, and for the daughter, whatever those rules are, we didn't get those in my generational. And some people don't get them at all even now, and they're 18, 19, 20, 21, because it's still not spoken about. Mm-hmm. And here's something that's very much in common with all of us. We all grew up the best we knew how to be loved. We chameleoned, so to speak, who we needed to be, those things that weren't acceptable to our parents, straight, gay, doesn't matter, hid those things and became, responsible for most of the part until we couldn't anymore, whatever age that is for someone, so that we would be loved. Oh, I want to go to this college. No, you want to go to that college because this is what you're going to, okay, I'll go there because you'll love me. I won't pursue my dream so you'll love me. I will, whatever it is, so you'll love me. And for us, it's, I will not be even who I am so you will love me.
Yeah.
And across the board, it's the same for everyone. And as we grow up, whatever age that is, and each of us, it's different, whether it's, again, straight, gay, doesn't matter, which is showing our commonality, right? We start shedding those things when we start realizing, and we go to someone like a hypnotist or a therapist or whatever it is, start shedding those labels and those parameters and those limited thinkings of who we are, because that's what we thought we had to be loved. And the first time that you're yourself and someone wants to hang out with you, or someone wants to take you on a date and you're being yourself, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, someone can actually love me for me. And that goes across everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Greg, if I can just add a sentence in there, because when you
Sure.
said someone can actually love me for me, it wasn't only because, at least to me, it wasn't only that we had the sense that that we needed other people to love us for who we are, but that we needed to be able to love ourselves because that message was still there, that who I am is fundamentally not okay.
Wrong.
This
Wrong.
time. But I wonder what you think about this. I noticed something in as time has gone by, looking back, and that is that in one sense, if you look at this history, you can say, well, gosh, all these terrible things, and you could be busted for being gay, you had to hide out. And by the way, yeah, our whole socialization was through these sort of clandestine channels, dark clubs and entertainment venues that when the lights came up in the morning, that all disappeared,
Right.
with those magical worlds, unlike the experiences that, and I use the word loosely, of course, but normal people who weren't dealing with that, they could go to lodges, or they could go to churches, or they could go to, there are all kinds of places for them to connect with one another and develop relationships. And ours were all whispered. Ours were all
In the dark.
Yeah, in the dark.
In the dark. Much like me sitting here saying, oh, that's how you met your friends. You hooked up.
Yeah.
And that was my friend. We might have slept together. Yeah, that was fun. Great. Nice. That was a handshake, basically. And you became friends. And that's how you increase for a lot of people. It's not just me, and people are like, what? Yeah, that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Now there's apps and all that sort of thing. And it changed the whole dynamic of everything, which is a shame because in some ways it opens up for some people. There's always that yin and yang to everything. For some people, it opens up a world to know that there's other people that live nearby if they're in a small community, and they can look on an app and see other people they even knew that are willing to show their face and stuff on an app, a dating app or hookup app or whatever they want to call them and however they're used. And at the same time, I've gone out with friends or friends that have come to visit that want to go out to the clubs and stuff before COVID, of course, and all that kind of stuff. And the kids and the adults and everybody it used to be you would go with your friends and you're glad you're with your friends and you talk, but you have a wingman and you're looking and and that's how you met other people. But now they have the app, so they don't need to meet anybody at the club anymore. So they stay in their group of friends and it's not really open to other people. So that dynamic's changed. Or because we're so integrated, however anybody wants to look at that, some of the communities are being lost. Some of the bars and places that were ours are not ours anymore, in that it's like West Hollywood, a lot of, because it's such a safe and fun and really cleaned up place and done up. Like I have a property investor that always says, go where the artists go to invest your money in property, or the gay men, or gay men and women, because they will take a place that's a piece of crap and start building it into something, and your money goes, and it changes your investment. So we've built these communities that now a lot of the people that are having little kids and they're getting married and having babies, and because everything's more fluid, they feel more comfortable. It's not bad to be in those neighborhoods, like to society or their parents. And so it's sort of disseminating some of that community that we had too. It's kind of just breaking it away in some ways. So it's a yin and yang to that. I think I kind of jump around, and that's just how I talk. I apologize to anybody has a challenge with that, but I do what I can to bring it together. I was talking about having clients earlier who transitioning and things like that, and those sort of fell in my lap. I was having a class once on it was a book and hypnosis, and I was doing it at my home, and we'd have a group meetings, and someone brought someone as a guest, and I just asked, what pronoun would you prefer? And they said she, like looking at me like I was crazy. What are you talking about? And I just was me. I didn't do that with everybody. I just knew that that's what I needed to do. And 5 years later, she is he. And just the fact of asking someone without any fanfare or anything else of just how you felt and being polite and being opens up a whole journey that they've been afraid to follow.
Yeah.
It's not that they didn't know it was there, but if someone that doesn't even know you is asking you, there's got to be something going on, you know, and it's a journey that he has really excelled at and shown up for. And it's wonderful to be a part of that. Something that really came out with working with him was I didn't even think about it directly, but we started doing some past life regression because they became a hypnotist. They wanted to learn more about it. And in the past life regressions, before having some transitioning work and things like that, they were able to have past life regression, and it fell into being male and being able to feel what that truly felt like within their body during past life regressions, and really understanding more about the physicalities and everything that they had always been looking for and understood within themselves, but never really truly felt, which is a really wonderful thing to be able to do. When you're working with people that are transitioning, please know that they need to have their doctors. They need to be taking their medications that they need to take, whether it's testosterone or estrogen and those sorts of things. And you have to ask, hey, are you on them? I had a client who was transitioning from male to female and had been on hormones for quite a long time, and ended up coming into my office. Unbeknownst to me, their sister made the appointment for them. And so when they came, they were very distant and difficult. And I don't, you know, though we all have these clients eventually they're kind of like, I don't know. You're like, well, why are you even here? You finally, you know, if you've been around long enough, you go, why are you in my office? If you don't know, why are you in my office? Because I don't know if you don't tell me something, you know. And the light bulb went off and said, so you've been upset about transition and stuff, yeah? Are you still taking your hormones? No. And they've been very aggressive and things like that. And I said, you have not felt this testosterone or anything for 5 years, and you're in your mid-20s. Are you kidding me? We need to call your doctor right now and get you in, you know, because that's a part of all of it, to know that where you can also, it's not your scope of your work. This wasn't just a simple, hey, let's do a past life, or let's do this or that. It was all chemical. It was all, you know, that sort of thing. And it's important, even if it's not what they want, that you make that phone call and get them the help they need, because it's a tough thing to transition. If you have, I can only imagine from my experiences with people, because I haven't done that. And so it's only that separation that I can say this is that, what if you have this imagination, and we all have this actually, what we look like? Whether it's going to be flowing hair or a nice buzz cut, good nails or long nails or hard nails, or even being more blonde than maybe we were allowed to be this week. And when it shows up, or I have more hair in my mind than I actually have now. And then one day we kind of look and go, what the happened? Or if they're transitioning, how this is never going to happen the way I pictured. So do we give them a new picture? Do they want to continue the journey? Is it so important? Or was it something they just had to go through to then become accepting of themselves? Whether it's middle of transition, what's wrong with being a middle? The whole thing is, where is our judgment on somebody else's life?
And Greg, let me just throw in, it doesn't even stop there. Because when someone is transitioning, even after a full transition, things can go wrong. I have a friend who transitioned female to male, and he had to go to Europe to have it done. This was several years ago. It wasn't very common. And he spent, it wasn't Brazil, it was Belgium maybe, where he spent a week there after the surgery. He had a complete, I don't know what it's officially called, addictomy, and a full thing. 5 days later, he was on an airplane with a big ice bag on his lap and between his legs, coming back to the United States. In mid-flight, one of his new testicles burst. He got off the plane with an infection, had to go to now a hospital, and no one was prepared to deal with something like this. Now, this man then consequently, even though he was absolutely sure of himself in the transition, he still went through, as you might expect, some fear, some guilt. Oh, I did this to myself. Maybe I never should have done this. Maybe this is God's way of telling me you never should have done this in the first place. All of this kind of stuff comes up. I don't care how sure of, and don't we all have clients who've made decisions that—
And I'm sitting here thinking in my head while you're saying that, maybe I shouldn't have had kids. Maybe I should have had the kid. Maybe I shouldn't have had a vasectomy. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten that haircut. Maybe it's just the degree of the decision and how far into their life, you know?
And we have to, as you said to begin with, work with each of our clients as they present. I don't care if they're straight, gay, bi, someplace in the middle. They're going to have, they don't come to us without issues.
Why would they?
Right. So they're going to have issues when they come in, and we have to be sympathetic and leave our BS outside and work with the BS that they brought into the room, the belief system that they have, and help them work with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting about just the variety. It's the same variety as any other. That's what I keep going back to, is nobody's any different. It's just the layers may be heavier. But then you have people that happen to not be part of the LGBTQAI plus community that have tons of layers, from abuse or self-abuse or blah, 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 blah. It's all, see, we end up in the same conversation, actually, typically, that it's all the same. And then it's usually everyone that's already agreeing with that, that's in the conversation. So the people that maybe need to hear the conversation aren't here, but maybe when it gets uploaded, it'll be heard.
They have to be where they are to continue to perpetuate the problems.
Well, I've also worked with,
Yeah.
I've worked with clients, BDSM, polyamorous type relationships and things like that. And, you know, there's some things to learn if that interests you, or even if I didn't jump in, oh yeah, I want to learn about BDSM. I find it interesting, and I find the culture interesting, and I may tip my toe into it because I find certain things, and we all have something that someone else is going to think is weird. Yeah. Whether it's a feather or a piece of macaroni that's involved, it's weird, you know. So it's about making comfort. I believe what I'm good at, and this is really, I believe what I'm really good at in my office, in my life, in my friendships, in conversation, is making it comfortable enough that they can be themselves, to tell the truth, that they won't be judged by me, that they won't be thrown back at them, whatever is said, that it would be fair, and just almost like being held like we all want to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who shows up.
Behind your back, Greg, before you joined us tonight, we were talking a little bit about you and your bio and things like that. And I said, well, I don't know Greg's bio. The thing I know about Greg is he is a gentle, compassionate soul. And just in knowing you, that's how I would describe you. And I think that's what you just described. That's what is necessary to deal with the people who come in, to just be compassionate and gentle. in caring.
Well, and let's be very clear here as you say that, is sometimes gentle and caring is, why are you even here if you're not going to work with me?
Yes, that is part of the caring part. Sometimes it has to be tough love.
Yeah.
Sometimes it also has to be tough love, but it has to be love.
Yeah. And I think again, as we talk about growing up with all of these layers of who we were expected to be, and again, it doesn't have to be LGBTQ, but that's what we're talking about here, is in the unlayering, sometimes it's a long process. I'm still in the process, quite honestly. And here I am on the internet. It's like, yeah, I'm a gay guy, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe I'm gay by curious. Maybe I'm, there's all these labels or whatever. But how we continue to have, if we've had those fears and we've had those shields up, and as you layer it out and open up more, how far do we get to really go? To just be ourselves, to allow other people to be themselves with us. Because as much as shield we put up is somebody else is going to also put up. It's those brave people that I look up to that come into the room as much as themselves as they can be. Whether I like them or not, it doesn't matter. But they're as much as themselves. And we're not talking about someone that fills the room and won't let anybody else breathe. We're talking about these people that just show up and they are themselves and they stand up for what they believe is right and things like that. And I might not agree. And this is just in a general situation, but I can admire that they can say what their truth is. And I strive for that. And I think we all want to be seen and heard for those sorts of things, because the more that happens, the less we can be put back into a box. Whether it be a woman that isn't allowed to have certain things go on in Texas, or me, if I were to go to a certain country, I'd just be killed, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's I happen to be, because I live in Los Angeles, there's happens to be a lot more openness in LGBTQ plus. I happen to have people come to me because they had a friend who, and it's been word of mouth. People ask a lot when I do this talk every once in a while, how do they get involved? Well, everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
And everybody knows somebody who's gay, lesbian, brother, sister, cousin, the hairdresser, which is stereotypical, but it's true. Things are stereotypical, some things are true. Dog walker, the person, and if you show kindness and they know what you do, they'll come.
Yeah.
Or you volunteer.
Yes. In Chicago, we have the Howard Brown Medical Center, which is it's a good community, a really good, strong community. They do work with AIDS. They do all sorts of work. Guess what? People in that community smoke and sometimes want to stop. I went to Howard Brown and said, hey, if you want to put a group together, I'll help them quit. They said, well, we had this group of this AIDS group that we're real concerned about. They might want to. And they asked him and they did. And I went in and worked with this group. And then they had this other group. And you go out there and say that you're willing to help. They have issues just like everybody else.
So is this conversation really about LGBTQAI? Do you know what I mean when I say that question? Yeah. Is it really?
Mary's got her hand up, by the way. Why don't you open up your mic, Mary, and talk to us?
And Paul too, by the way.
Yeah, Paul too.
Okay, so I have a question, and I totally get what you're saying and agree in that, the clients that I have that are LGBTQ, I find it's the same, almost the same exact issues as anyone else most of the time. But I was really thinking about this week, and I was actually going to email Michael and ask his opinion, what to do or who to refer to. So I have a client who's a straight woman. She's a mother of 2 boys, and one of her boys is 15 years old, and he thinks he wants to transition. And she was asking if I could work with him. And that just released such a storm of questions in my own mind, because part of it is from voices that I hear in my head, like a friend of mine who's a gay man, maybe 55 years old. He was saying, Mary, all these people who transition, they're more depressed statistically after they transition. And, I don't know where he got these facts or if they're true or not, or, whatever, but all of this is buzzing around in my mind. And I said, where would a person even start with something like that when someone is thinking they want to transition, they're a child still? And, I was thinking, like, what are the tools that I probably wouldn't even work with this boy because I just don't feel like I would be the person to add the most value. But what would be the tools? Would we use, traditional tools of, a wise sage and, helping them to get clarity, like you would get clarity for anything else. My mind was kind of blown with it. And so I would love to get input from you, Greg, and you, Michael, or, anyone.
You want to go first, Michael, or you want me to go?
I want to just add a little tiny piece to it because I think what we were saying just before Mary's question really feeds into this, and that's right. Is this really about LGBTQ IAMNOP? In the sense that even in the case of somebody who's transitioning, I think there are probably some issues. Just as a reminder, in my own life, my own background, I was this little religious, mystical kid who only wanted to become a priest. This is what I was going to do with my life, and it was about fundamentally changing. The way that I understood becoming a priest was literally transforming. It was this transformational path that I was on. In fact, I really noticed it and held on to it, that in Spanish, if somebody says they're going, we say that people are going to become a priest, but we might say they're going to be a doctor. And I love this active becoming thing as something that to me was about transitioning anyway. See, Mary, I'm wondering if somebody came to you, if a woman came to you and said, I really think I'd like to be a nun. And I really don't mean to trivialize it. So Greg, you may have a very different response to this. I'm wondering if it really is that much different when somebody basically comes to you and they say, I'm interested in transforming at the level of identity, and I want the support to help me be more fully who I am, whatever that expression is. That's how I think it's alike. How I think it's different is that it's a content area that is still just a little bit, you got to whisper about it, and people don't have that sense of the world being quite that open. So creating the space for them to do that, I think the best thing to do for this boy is to listen, is to create a place that says it's really okay for you to be with whatever the hell it is that's going on with you. And I want to be here for you, and I want to support you in whatever way that I can. So that's my part, but please, Greg.
So let's talk about if it were me. Mm-hmm. It's not, but if it were, okay, what's the mother like? What's the family like? What's the support system like? How are they really dealing with it? What kind of stuff are they have going on? How much have they done with him, with whether it's doctors, psychologists, all that kind of stuff, or therapists and those sorts of things, that they know really what's going on or not before I put my fingers in the bowl, because my scope is what I do, right? But then with that, let's say I said yes. I don't know if it's about transitioning more than it is about loving who you are.
Yeah.
Loving who you are and whatever form that you and your parents and your doctors decide. Because that's not my job.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's another question I think that hasn't been asked yet, Mary, and that is, you said the mother wants you to work with her 15-year-old boy. What does she want you to do with him? Help him transition, talk him out of it? I mean, what is her desired outcome?
No, she's super open and accepting.
Well, that makes a big difference
She
because
wants, yeah, she just wants him to really have more clarity as to what he wants to do and whether he would want to take on something that is such a massive physical undertaking.
So then here's the thing that's come to me 3 times already, and I haven't said it. And I just, they, them. He's not a boy, right? In this classification, if that's what his mother's saying, to transition, is he a boy? Or is he a person? He's a person.
He's not, but from what she explained to me, he's not sure if he should remain in a boy's body or transition to a female's body. He doesn't know what he should.
And know that I'm being a little picky, but I'm not trying to be mean or rude or saying. Yeah. So this person, this young person, right? This is really what, because no one's made a decision. This young person needs some support to feel who they are. Period. Who am I? And what young person, let's take sexuality aside for just a second, didn't need help knowing who they were at 15 or 16. And then imagine if there's actually chemical stuff going on, that maybe they have more hormones than testosterone, just physically, naturally, as who they were as a being. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what, they any of that stuff. I don't know if you know either, but all of that kind of is okay, so who is this being, this possible magical being? And yes, it is a huge decision that you don't make. You're just there to say, hey, our goal is to get you to love yourself no matter who you are. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, because if you don't transform that inner world, then no matter what you do externally, you're still going to have that. Yeah.
Because what if he's decides to stay in the body he's in and still have those feelings and feels magical that he's fluid?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's a fairy, maybe he's a butterfly, maybe they are whatever it is, or she, maybe it's a whole new, because there's a whole new dynamic coming in, which is LGBTQ, L lesbian, G gay, B bisexual, Q queer, because some people like that word, LGBT, I'm sorry, trans, queer, asexual, intersex and asexual. So intersex, because there's thousands and thousands of people that are born with genitalia that's a little bit, or chemistry, not necessarily the genitalia, that is mixed. And people make decisions and operations when they're just born to decide their gender, which many times are wrong.
Yeah.
Because the chemicals haven't kicked in at puberty to say who they are. So now they're getting to where they just let them be. And when the time comes, and some people stay with, I guess the word they used to use is hermaphrodite. Is it hermaphrodite? Is that the word? I don't remember. But it's intersex now, and it's okay, and they still are loved and still find partners, and still, it just is.
Yeah. There's an important piece in the middle of that, Greg, that came up with Mary's question too, about what was, you were asking, what was the mother's outcome, for instance? Why, what does she want? That none of these things happen in isolation, and we are all parts of systems and families and whatever it is. I think the wisdom for me of being out for 50 years is that in the 70s, I remember going to like gay pride parades, right? And thinking, when there were just 2 letters, but going to the parades and thinking, the world has got to change, and they've got to change today. God damn it. What the hell is the matter with these people that they don't understand, about gay rights, and that we, whatever, and it had to happen now. And I remember thinking that. And it was a struggle with me and my family. They weren't hostile, but I was certainly a challenge, for my dad. And I just thought that he was unreasonable. Now, looking back after years and years at this, what I think was we were asking the world to make a really significant gear shift, and we wanted them to do it overnight. So I think at some level, I've switched my position where now I have some compassion for families as well that are struggling with the sexuality of their children, just because they don't understand it. They don't really know what they need to know to be able to be comfortable and okay with it. As well. So there's a whole community to work with, whether it's working with LGBTQIA plus people.
And there's also, Mary, going back to there's places and groups that she can go to get some support, to find out more people to work with or whatever, whether you're comfortable or not. It doesn't matter. It's just there's other parents going through the same thing. And is she involved in that to really understand? Or, there's a lot, there's a lot. It just.
I want to make sure we get to Paul's question too.
And also Gloria has something too.
Yes.
Okay. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Women? Okay, fine. First of all, Greg, I just want to thank you so much for your intelligence and your vulnerability, and just telling it like it is for you. As you're saying, that's how you want your clients to tell it, how it is for he, she, they, whatever. Yeah. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Being here for this. And also, Michael, I saw you briefly a couple years ago when you were at the table with Karen Hand at the America Midwest conference. I never got the vibe that you were gay, and I never got the vibe, and I didn't, you're talking, and I admired your early on your hypnosis chops, you came on. I thought, this guy looks like Jim Carrey. He's not funny, to make the faces like Jim Carrey, but you kind of have a face like Jim Carrey. So here's what I want to add to the discussion, about the gayness and all that. When I was in 7th grade, I had long hair. I always liked the Beatles. The summer before, we went to San Francisco. I hung out with the kids out there. They were cool. They had long hair. I went back, started junior high school. I had long hair. People called me gay, pussy, faggot. I had to fight them. I'm not a gay guy. I was never a gay guy. But they put all that on me, and I had to, fight against it. I was, trying to be who I wanted to be, in a place that, I guess, like you're talking about, in a counterpoint, wouldn't accept me being who I wanted to be, who I was. I wanted to be among the hippies, the young kids in San Francisco, and I'm going back to Virginia, and I have long hair, and I am, somehow in all that I became 7th grade president because I was the only guy running, but the guys wanted to vote for a guy, and the women had too many, or wanted to vote for women, there were too many women, but the guys, bottom line is, I had to put up with a lot of shit because people thought I was gay. And I'm not gay. I was trying to be who I am, and all this, LGBT stuff, I have sensitivity to it, late in life, but it was such a stigma.
Yeah.
We had a guy who was, no, he can't be gay because there's nobody here who's gay. He was the band teacher, the band teacher for the high school, the elementary, the junior high, and a teacher told me, "Oh, this guy's gay." I said, "No, it can't be because nobody could be." It was so creepy. It was so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
So I know, I'm thinking what you had to go through. I feel gay. I'm attracted to other guys, and I have to hide it. Well, I'm not gay, and I'm getting all this shit directed on me because people want to think I'm gay because they needed somebody to pick on. So I just wanted to put that out there, just to give you a counterpoint, about a straight person having to deal with that growing up. That's all I want to say. You
Well,
know,
I think this is what I was talking about earlier too, about, we had clients with a whole range of issues. And LGBTQ plus, all of the letters, everybody's got issues. Everybody's got issues. And so as hypnotists, we have to be open to finding out what's going on in their head and helping them to the outcome they want. Right?
yes, but it's also a thing. Everyone's talking about how difficult it was to be gay when you're young. You can't come out there. What about somebody who isn't gay, who people are projecting upon as being gay?
Well, here's the thing,
It's a
Paul.
different story.
Think about this, Paul.
Yeah,
What if it was no big deal to be gay? Then they wouldn't have done anything to you.
right.
That's the point. If it's no big
Exactly.
deal to anybody, then it's
Right.
and because of how we're all raised, no, I can't be that. At least you were fighting, let's say, for yourself,
Yes.
for the truth. Can you imagine what someone got every day fighting to just survive because they knew it was true and they had to lie?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a different struggle.
I mean, but it's still the same. I mean, not the same struggle, but it's the same. You're trying to be who you want to be, just
Right.
like everybody else. But it was okay for you to be who you wanted to be because you're fighting to be straight. Because you're fighting to be straight.
No, I'm finding to
With
wear
long hair and be
long
a
hair,
hippie.
right? Trying to be
Right.
hippie in a place
Right.
that didn't accept. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think Gloria had something she wanted to say.
Yes. Gloria.
I'm mute, Gloria. No, Gloria, you're muted.
You're muted.
Still can't hear you, Gloria.
There you
There
go.
we go.
When you were talking about, parents trying to, get accustomed with dealing with the children that are transitioning or are gay or want to be gay, I wondered, and you talk about other groups, is there something for parents of children that are becoming gay or are gay and just, dealing with it? Something like Al-Anon with alcoholics, that kind of support group?
P-flag.
What is it?
There used to be FLAG.
P-flag.
Yeah, P-FLAG. Does it still exist?
Yeah, parents of
Friends of
friends
Parents
of-
and family of lesbian and gays. Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs more letters, but
Yeah.
I really was not familiar with that because when I was in my 20s, to tell you the truth, there were a few gay men that I liked. I didn't know they were gay. I'm telling you, I was stupid. I really was stupid. I was naive that way because I was always like a homebody. I was with the grandparents and the aunts and uncles, and I really was not as aware as I should have been of, what else was going on in the community. And I remember had these two people come to the house one time and they were nice and all that. And my parent, oh, these nice young men, right? Turned out they were gay. They were brothers and they were gay. My father was one of the most reasonable, fair people on the face of the earth, not racial. He respected everybody, but that was beyond him. He came from an old, Catholic family. He didn't give two hoots about church. Neither did my mother. But that was, that was its own no-no, right? And my father was beside himself. I knew you would have. But I found that more than a few times I was really not aware. I lived in an apartment house in New York where we had all kinds of different people there, right? And there were two men, they were painters. And they would go, I went to my job in the morning and the two painters would come out, they'd, have their stuff and they'd go together. And I used to hear the muttering going on in there. I was there some years when somebody said to me that they were gay. And I thought, oh, all right, so they're gay, but really nice people. Nice people. And then some years later, when I had moved somewhere else, one of those two people died. And I happened to be on the street coming from another area where I was living at the time, and I saw the partner on the street. I couldn't get across the street to have access. I'm telling you, my heart was bleeding for that person who I knew they'd been together for years, who was now, without their partner, and damn sure didn't have any support. I mean, walking in a fog. And I feel very badly about things like that. And I was in my teens. I knew there were gay people, although I didn't necessarily recognize people that might have been gay, like I said, right? But I know when we had all the AIDS epidemics coming, and there was that whole big thing in California, especially about, the AIDS people, the gay people having a lot of AIDS. And in my mind, I was thinking, it's the media again creating the terror, and people becoming susceptible to AIDS because they were not recognized. They still didn't have the freedom to be who they were, right? Legally or anything else. So now they had to carry that extra guilt and fear, which made them susceptible to disease. Not because they were gay really, but because of the stress factor. And I was really bothered by that, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't, but I'm mentioning it because I remember how really that bothered me. Yeah. And I just thought, I didn't know where to go or how could I do anything about that? I didn't know. And I lived in too straight community.
Yeah.
Now you know about PFLAG.
Yes, thank you.
PFLAG.
PFLAG, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'd love someone like you to come say hello.
Where I am now, I don't even get out of this department because I'm not driving, and there's no access to public transport. I got to check that out.
And I bet you 10 to 1, there's an online PFLAG now because of COVID.
Yes,
Oh my
they
God.
have Zoom meetings.
Oh, gee whiz.
Not only
Yeah.
that, the nice thing about groups like that too, in some places at least, is that for Gloria, for instance, if you're not driving, some of these outfits, they have people that'll pick you up, bring you and stuff. I mean, you create relationships with people, and that's a nice thing.
It's just another community.
I like Gloria and appreciate that you brought this up. And Greg, you mentioned it earlier, and there certainly isn't enough time to do any justice to this particular topic. But one of the things I think that is different about the gay community is that, and I mean, of course, all the letters, but especially the gay community, I think, is AIDS itself. That in less, what I guess it's 25 years or so ago, I was living in San Francisco at the time, so I was at the epicenter, and people were dying all around us, and the gay community pulled itself together to provide resources and support for one another, and evidence, to me at least, of that one thing that is more important than anything. I ran a support group for friends and lovers of people with AIDS, because there were all kinds of people that were supporting the folks that had AIDS, but the folks that were doing the support were burning out as well. So it, in a sense, and the silver lining, I guess, behind this terrible cloud was it mobilized a community to really become sensitive to how important it was for us to love one another, to be there for one another, and to provide support.
There is some good documentaries. I forgot the names of them. There's one on Netflix now. I saw it not too long ago about a gentleman. I wish I could remember his name. A real, I want to say the word, I don't know if I can say this, but I can say shit stirrer, but for a good reason. A lot of protests and things when it was doing it in a way that it was scandalous and stuff for the gays to do protests that way, whether it's in the cathedral in New York or ACT UP and all of those sorts of things, to cause there to be visibility and things like that. And all of that's really led to, as much as it was a negative and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have died, it led to where we are today.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we won't be killed.
But during that time, the first thing that we saw were young men that were separated from their families that wouldn't have anything to do with them, that becoming ill was the thing that outed them to the world.
Right.
And
Right.
fortunately, we are well beyond that.
If anybody gets a chance, there's a series. It has 3 seasons or maybe 4 seasons now, and that's going to be it. It's Pose, and it's called Pose, Pose, and it's taking place in the late 80s, early 90s of New York, and it's the gay and trans kids and community and people of color, and the balls and the dancing, and then AIDS is in there too and stuff. And it's really, I actually lived in Hell's Kitchen around that time. And it's a pretty authentic and pretty interesting thing. You know, there's also liberty that they take to the stories and stuff like that, but it's a pretty interesting thing to see that people having to make choices. Do I just keep living? Or do I succumb to what's going on and choose to just wither away? And I think that's something in a commonality with all major illnesses that people face. Is this the thing that's going to make me stronger? Or is this the excuse I'm going to use to never do anything? And you see how people change and grow in the face of all these things. You know, we all have our own stuff. So.
We are running to the end of our time, by the way. So Mary, you got your hand up again.
I wanted to also get an opinion on another client that I have. He's a 50-year-old gay man, and I've primarily been helping him with his business and to be in the mindset where he can attract the new opportunities and things that he wants. And he's doing really well with all of that. But one of the things that's interesting is that he does kind of continue to sabotage his relationships, his romantic relationships. And he takes offense when people ask him, are you gay or straight? And he doesn't want, like one time I said something like, you know, you are an amazing, gorgeous, successful gay man. And he was like, wait, why are you saying gay? You know, that shouldn't be central to who I am. That just happens to be what I do, you know, what I choose, but it's not important to me. But he's got a real charge about that. And I'm really curious from Michael and Greg, you know, what you think that is about.
My answer is real quick, because the only thing that I could do is hallucinate. You know, I have no idea what it's about for him, except that it sounds to me. See, on the one hand, I'm hoping that I like the idea that being gay just might be irrelevant. Okay. On the other hand, I also don't want to lose what being gay brings to me culturally, you know, and everything else. That it's not irrelevant. I'm a part of a culture, and we have sort of our own ways and our own things. So I don't want to deny that either. But it seems to me like this guy that you're talking about is somewhere on the fence where he just hasn't quite made peace with it one way or the other. Because otherwise, you can say what you want to me. If it gets me, then I need to look at why it is that it gets me.
I would have challenged him, Mary, on why he didn't object to you calling him gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, just because I'm gorgeous, what is that?
Okay for me to call you gorgeous, but I can't call you gay. I can list all the other things that you are, but I can't list that one. So let's look at that and find out why that's a trigger point.
You know, I get
a string of things.
I get women come in looking for the right person. Oh, I want to fall in love with the right person. I'm like, are you a lesbian? No. Are you bisexual? No. So you're a straight woman? Yes. So you got to start asking for the right man to come along. Not the right boy, the right man. So if we're talking universally, who are you and what do you want? And if I had the client, just this is my personality, is, well, how can I set you up with someone if I don't know what you like? You know, in that, oh, so you're a gay man, so what? But again, like Michael said, we don't know the history. We don't know why it bothers him. Maybe he just wants to be known as a good man, a smart man and, and leave the rest out of it when it's about business? Or is this about business and personal?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a separation of the two. But to be honest, I've had this question. I think, I don't know, Michael, may, everybody may, I don't know. This is, if you had the choice of being gay or straight, what would you do? I'd be gay.
Yeah, we're better parties.
I don't know any different. And I've had some
You don't know any
fun.
different, but there are bisexuals right there in the middle of the bell curve who do have a choice, who can make a choice.
No. See, it's not a choice. I happen to know, or they don't make it. It's about who you fall in love with and decide to be monogamous or non-monogamous in your
Yes.
relationship and your rules and everything else. Because they don't have a choice about being bisexual and being.
Right. But
I'm not
they
trying
do
to be. I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm just saying. Wait a minute. They just happen to be open to both, and then they choose the person, right? I don't know. That might be a deeper than we have.
But that's it. But there's some infighting in the community about that too.
Well, that's because some people don't believe that that's true. That's true
And that's what-
bisexuality.
Well, that was my point. That was my
Oh, okay.
point. There
I didn't
are
get
some
that.
people who get put upon for being bisexual and told, well, wait a minute.
And I'm like, good for you. You have all your options open.
I always say, good for you. You doubles your chance for a date on a Friday night.
Doubles. It's everybody. I think Dennis had a question before.
I have a question
I
for you
just had a
guys.
comment.
For Greg and Michael, I have a
I'm sorry.
question for you guys.
Okay,
Um,
but wait. Paul Dennis is asking a question. Hold on.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I had a comment. I've heard the phrase whether deciding whether they wanted to be. And to me,
Yeah.
that was decided clear back when you were a fetus. It was decided. It was
Yeah.
decided. And one of the most abominable things I can think of is the churchy Christian approach to conversion therapy. No such possibility. I know as well. I mean, I know that I was heterosexual and I dreamt about women. I that's all I couldn't keep my eyes off the legs of these short skirts. It's a wonder I got through college, because these gals were tramping through the library where I was trying to study. It was terrible. But I know that the gay male has that fixed, that's developed in him. And I don't think anybody has a choice as to who they would prefer to be with.
There's sexual attraction is what you're saying. Whether it's lesbian, gay, trans, bi, whatever. Yeah.
I don't think you have a choice.
It's just, it's the wonderful question that comes to mind is someone says, oh, when did you know you were gay? And you just turn around and say, well, when did you know you were straight? What day did you figure that out?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing, it just is. And when I was mentioning it was that, what if you had the opportunity, would you want to be straight or gay? If you were to come back and you had the option, what if? And that's where I was saying, I'd be me. I'm fine. I don't know, maybe a little taller or maybe a little broader shouldered. I'd be fine.
Well, listen, we are actually over our time, but there is one question. I know Paul wanted to ask a
Yeah,
question, and I also
Quick
see
question, yeah.
what he's written here. Is it the same question that you've written in the chat room?
Yes, it is. I'm just asking because
Yeah.
we've already talked about having to come to terms with your gayness, and
Yeah.
then you're also hypnotists. So I'd like to know how you have used hypnosis along the way to cope with that.
So,
And, you
so
know-
Paul, so
Okay.
Paul, real quick, and I'm gonna turn it over to Greg here, but I never had to come to terms with my gayness, and I don't have to cope with the experience of being gay. What I've had to come to terms with is the fact that there are people that are assholes that don't want me to be who I am. And that's not about me coming to terms with it. That's me coming to terms with the world that we live in and how to be able to to deal with other people. So it's the same. So for me, at least, that's the same kind of stuff that I'd have to deal with that people that are bullied have to deal with, or any of that stuff. It's like how can you affirm yourself and in a world that just may not be okay with who you are. So that's mine. I'm gonna let Greg.
But
Greg
did
sort
you
of
use
finish this off.
hypnosis specifically for that to help you with that?
I'm gonna jump with this
Please.
with you, Paul.
Please do it.
I use hypnosis for my confidence, my courage, my love, my understanding, my expansion of who I am, for my memory, for my releasing of whatever I need to release, just like anybody else. Has nothing to do with being gay or straight or bi or tri or trans or AI plus or purple or green or orange or yellow. None of that matters.
Great. All right. Listen, I know we could go on for a long time, but we are over time, and it is we've got to stop this. So come back next time. We may have some parting thoughts, and I really appreciate you for being here with us, Greg. And
Thank
and
you.
what we always do on the way out. So
Before we do that, how do we get in touch with you, Greg, if we have questions?
Yep.
Sorry.
You can find me, website is hypnosisla.com. You can find me on Facebook, Greg Beckett, motivational hypnotist. And also I have a YouTube that I'm going to add some more shows. It's called Time to Get Unstuck with Greg Beckett, where I interview people with words, and we take one word and how that's helped move through or help change with our clients or ourselves, that sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you, Greg.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So look for the recording tomorrow. By the way, those of you who are members of IACT and IMDHA, you can get CEUs for having been here with us, and other friendly hypnosis organizations will also offer you CEUs if you just tell them that you've been doing some hypnosis related stuff and hanging out with the virtual chapter. So be sure to look into that. Come and see us next month for Shelley Stockwell and all of the adventures of Esalen. I think that's going to be especially delightful as well. And so now here's what we do, Greg. Are you ready for this? Do you have a seatbelt, and is it secure? Because we are just going to open up all of the microphones, invite everybody to just open up all of the microphones. I think they have. In fact, they see some of the people at least know about this, so that we can just all wish you goodbye in a cacophony of love and affection. And
Oh,
appreciation.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Get out of here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Much
love.
See you next month.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank